Alright, so in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how I lit these three images of this Porsche Taycan, all in Blender. So you can see we've got the Porsche here, and this is just using a world light inside Blender, so none of my lights are activated right now. And you can see it's a red Porsche Taycan. I think I got this model from Turbo Squid. I think the author was Fishman 3D, I believe. It's got the full interior in it as well. Really good model, so I really highly recommend them. HKV Studios also do really good models. I've used quite a lot of them in my portfolio, so I check them out as well. But yeah, so I've got this Porsche Taycan, and I want to light it in sort of a studio setting, so really emphasizing all the curves, the materials, and just making the car look as good as possible. So the first thing to do when you're lighting a car is to get the materials right, obviously. Cars are quite sort of specific in how they look. So this is my car paint. There's a fair bit that goes into it, but maybe I can cover that in another video. Just, getting all the flakes, getting the scratches and all that stuff. But in this video, I'll just go over the lighting, the sort of general principles of car materials. So the general premise of a car material is that it's either metallic or not. It has a roughness value of like it's shiny or not, and then it has a clear coat. It does have flakes as well. Some don't, some do. So that's another thing to consider. And then in this shot, I also did some micro scratches just to really emphasize um, the material that I made. So this car is quite metallic, and then it's quite glossy as well. You can see the difference that it makes if by changing these values. And then it also has this clear coat, which is basically just a glossy finish to a car. So it could be a matte car, but if you put a clear coat over it, it will still be glossy. And I I went about this car for quite a few days actually. I was just looking at references back and forth, making sure that I got the metallic value right and the roughness value right, because there's nothing worse than seeing a car and it's not how the real life world cars look. So I can't recommend enough. Just look at so many references, go outside, take pictures. And there was a few things that I didn't realize this car had. Like, for example, these brake lights. I didn't realize it had ribbed brake lights because I couldn't see anything in the reference photos. So it's a good job I saw one in real life and managed to snap a photo. But yeah, make sure that your materials are on point before you start lighting, because the lighting can sort of emphasize certain parts, so you may think it's right, but it's actually not. Oh, and another thing to say, I made my windows just a metallic black because I really didn't want to see inside. And obviously, I could just light it sort of like that, but I just want to make it easy, save render time probably as well, and just make them all a mirror. So, I have my set lighting and then my front lighting here. I should probably have each shot in a separate file, but clearly I didn't for this job. But let's turn off this world light. You can see nothing's lighting it. And start by adding in these lights. So I'll just go into the material view. So these lights are just basically ball gradients that I made in Photoshop and either scaled or whatnot, and then plug into an emission. And I've used the Blender 4.0 light linking, you can see just above my head here. So this basically stops this object from lighting anything other than the things that I've set. So this will only hit the studio, and the studio is this object here. So it won't hit the car. And as you can see, there's one hit in the car, but everything else is just hitting where I've set. Another thing I did, which you won't be able to see because of my head, is I stopped them from hitting the glossiness, which you can see here. And that's just because I just wanted a little bit more control over where the lights are hitting. And that's another reason why I have multiple lights instead of just one, because this light is for this ball, and then this one is for that back piece. And the reason for this back piece separately is just I really want to control how I'm separating the car from the background really precisely. And also the main aim of this photo is to get sort of this beam across all the photos consistently. So that's pretty much it for these lights. There are, if I go into material view, I did sort of mix this with a red because it was going a bit too white and I just wanted to warm it up. So you can see there, that's what it looked like before, and then I've just mixed it using the color mix RGB and then plugged that into emission just to make it a little bit more red. Obviously you could make this procedurally, but it's just so quick to make a ball gradient in Photoshop. Why not? So if I go into my front angle and I'll show you, this is my front shot lighting. So there's area lights, there's planes and whatnot. I'll just turn all these on. You can see it's looking a bit odd, but if I go into camera view, it all makes sense once it's on. So I went for sort of the gradient off here into the car, but then I still wanted some like highlights just on the car. You can see here, like on that wing mirror, and then that nice gradient over the screen. And you're probably wondering what these black lines are. That's just where my planes are casting shadows. And now I've turned it off to shadow in that ray visibility, but it's still showing. So I had to do a separate render just to paint them out. But we can go through everything that I did. So I'll start off with these big boys. So this is sort of, I guess, my specialty in Blender. So I did a lot of products, and product requires like really nice gradients to emphasize the glossiness, but also like curved shapes. And this is just really simple to do. So how you make this is just you shift A, gradient texture, plug that into a color ramp, and then this just allows you to draw your reflection basically. And then you plug that into an emission and it lights it. So I can show you. You can see the difference that makes. So you could have a really harsh highlight if you wanted, or you can bring it all the way across. But I do think, you know, less is more. Always, you just want to highlight the little details. But yeah, that's pretty much my main light. If I turn that off, nothing much happens. But this is such a powerful tool, especially for gradients, because in Blender, sure, we have area lights, but you just don't get that nice fall off that you get with these. Because obviously, if you look here, the light is going to be the most powerful at this white point, and then you can see that it's getting darker, and that's fall off. That's basically gradient lighting, which just makes, I guess people use it as a cinematic sort of word, but if you were just going to do this with an area light, I'll show you Shift A, area light, you just don't get the same effect. Now you can go into the light settings and change the spread, and that sort of does something, but with with glossy objects it doesn't really do it. So the best bet is to just use these color ramps and then just position it in a way that you like. And it is at a weird angle, but I think that was the only angle where it covered pretty much most of this front bonnet. Like if I turn it, you can see it starts to change. But yeah, that's basically the key light. I think I have another plane. Not sure what that's doing. Well, we can just disable that. So pretty much every other light is just a point light source. So you can see here, I've got this big one and then these little ones. And here I use the spread value on some of them. I think, yeah, 159. So I'll turn these off. You can see what they're doing. So this one, where is that? Oh yeah. So this one is to highlight this sort of edge here. Just to get that separation. Really subtle, but you can see it's getting that separation. And then this one is for the grill, obviously. This one, again, that front sort of fill it's giving. And then this one is that big light with a really low spread. You can see the difference with not changing anything at all. And then reducing the spread. I turn the power up. That's what it's doing. It's just adding a bit more light on that front. So that's without it. And with it, let me turn that other light back on. So that's just adding some fill light. So this one was quite simple, honestly. It's just about understanding where you want to go with the lighting and showcasing the glossiness of an object or showcasing how matte an object is, and using them gradients, but also mixing it with the area lights, and you get a really nice effect. So that was pretty much it. It's quite a simple lighting setup, that one. So I'll go on to another shot. So let's go to the back of the car. So this is what it looked like with that room lighting. And then I'll go back. And again, there's a weird shadow, so I had to render out a separate pass for that. But here it is. So I'll turn this off. Start with an area light. So 60 spread. This, I think when you're using area lights and it's for objects which aren't just like a pure metallic mirror, it's really useful to use a spread because you get sort of a hard light on diffuse surfaces, but obviously on a glossy surface it doesn't work as good. So I used a low spread of 60 on that, and it's just highlighting the glass and also this back bumper. And then I used another one of these planes, so I'll show you the material view. Just another one of these, and in the color ramp this time I've actually not got it white, I've got it sort of pink, because when I had it pure white I just thought that was a bit too harsh and it looked a bit sort of sterile, but adding that little bit of pink into it, I just felt like it sat a lot better. Let's skip that one for now. This one, I'm pretty sure this was a composite, so you can see here it's creating a shadow here, but I didn't want that, but I really wanted this sort of highlight here. So what I did was just render out a version of this image just with this plane active, and then I just pasted that on. This one is another gradient light, I believe. Yeah, and this one is just all white, and it's just creating this effect here. And you may be wondering, well, why did you do that? The car is looking nice. It is, but it looks too matte at the moment. So if I turn it on, when at first glance you're like, yeah, that's glossy. But without it, you may still be sort of and ahhing. And also without it just makes the car look really fat. But with it, it adds that shape to the car. And then a final light was just to get that background so it separates the car, and I also get that pulse. Now, for this plane here, you can see that I'm getting some lighting on here on the car. However, this isn't even a light. This is just a mirror. So a mirror is basically 100%, well, zero roughness, all the way metallic, and it's literally just reflecting this top light up here into there and then bouncing the light. So, like in photography studios, a lot of the times, instead of just adding another light, when studio lights are quite expensive, so you just get a mirror and it will bounce that gradient or light, whatever, back onto your object. So it's a quick hack. Instead of adding another light, it just lets you control it, and it's kind of realistic. Obviously, you wouldn't have a full size car mirror, but in terms of like how that lighting would react is quite cool. I'm not sure if that would increase render times because obviously the light's bouncing off that mirror onto the object, so that's more light rays, but who knows. But yeah, that's the back shot. Quite simple again. Now the brake light is a bit different. So this is the brake light, and if I turn it on, see, this is what I did. And again, these shots were to mainly just highlight the materials that I've made that I'm going to use on all my future car shots. And with that was this scratch sort of generator that I got on my textures, because pretty much all cars, no matter what, will always have these micro scratches from like wiping the car down. And that's what I tried to get through here. Obviously, you may not have these many smudges on your car, but I just wanted to emphasize this material, and also the reason why they're so prominent is for this gradient over here. I didn't just want a smooth transition. I wanted to show that this car, it's a bit worn, it has all these scratches, it has these smudges, because most cars do. Obviously, in a studio setting, you'd clean it loads, but this is a material that I'm going to use on all my projects. But anyway, to light this was again quite simple, the same thing. So another color ramp. I think this may be the same one as the front shot, and that's just doing that nice gradient again. If I just did a area light, shift A, area light, and I'll just bring that up over here. Just get it in the same spot. You can see that just looks ugly, and even if I reduced the spread, it looks ugly compared to this lovely like sharp gradient into a nice sort of feathered look. It just looks so much better, professional. It shows the curves of the product so much better. You got to use these color ramps. The second light was to highlight the glass here, and that's another color ramp again. And with this, I used the light linking again just to hit just this object. And I also hid it to camera, otherwise it would be in the view. And then these 4 lights here were just to add some sparkles. So obviously I didn't need to add a light here, but adding it showed the paintwork off, it showed that it's glossy, and it just highlighted these areas. And that's it for that shot. Now you had this sort of weird reflection, which I posted in Photoshop, and I also closed this gap a little bit in Photoshop as well. I just thought that was a bit big. But yeah, that's again quite simple. Now all these lighting setups won't always work for the same shot because you're going for different things, so it's good to get different lighting setups for every camera. Don't just settle for one lighting setup for the whole thing. Obviously try keep it in unison, but you want to try emphasize every part of the car as much as possible. So yeah, that's pretty much it for lighting and how I did this car. It's just using color ramps and then mixing that in with your area lights or point lights to get the effect that you want. So I hope that was helpful. Again, if you want to see how I texture my cars, I've got it all as an asset browser here. So I can essentially use my material and then just stick it on. I never have to tweak it after the fact. So yeah, let me know if you want to see that. But thanks for watching.